Dawn, April 19th, 1775. On Lexington Green, 77 farmers stood in a thin line while 700 British regulars came out of the morning haze. Somebody fired. 8 colonists died in the wet grass, and the American Revolution began. Those men left more than a legend. The muster rolls survive, along with the pension files of every patriot who followed. The same documents the daughters and sons of the American Revolution still use to verify bloodlines. And 10 of those surnames are everywhere in America, possibly at your own dinner table. One rule first, the rule serious genealogists live by. A surname is a flag, not a birth certificate. And number 1 hides a twist that most American family trees get completely wrong. Number 10. Allen. Before sunrise on May 10th, 1775, Ethan Allen and his Green Mountain Boys crossed Lake Champlain and walked into Fort Ticonderoga while the garrison slept. He demanded its surrender by his own account, in the name of the Great Jehovah and the Continental Congress. Not a shot was fired, and the fort's cannon were hauled overland that winter to force the British out of Boston. Allen is one of the most common surnames in the English-speaking world, and thousands of Allen patriots served besides Ethan, so an Allen tree has more doors to try than almost any name here. Number 9. Morgan. As a young wagon driver, Daniel Morgan struck a British officer and was sentenced to 500 lashes. He survived and spent the rest of his life joking that the drummer miscounted and the British still owed him one. That grudge served the Revolution well. His riflemen were decisive at Saratoga, and then came his masterpiece at Cowpens in 1781, where he destroyed Banastra Tarleton's legion in under an hour. The British lost over 800 men. Morgan lost around a dozen. Morgan is a Welsh surname that saturates Appalachia and the upland south, exactly where those riflemen came from. Number 8. Warren. Dr. Joseph Warren was a 34-year-old Boston physician effectively running the rebellion in Massachusetts, and it was Warren who sent Paul Revere riding toward Lexington. 2 months later, he carried a musket up Breed's Hill as an ordinary volunteer, despite holding a fresh commission as Major General. He was shot through the head and dumped in a shallow grave. 10 months later, Revere helped identify his body, traditionally by the false teeth he had wired into Warren's jaw, often called America's first forensic dental identification. Warren left 4 orphan children, and the name spread through New England, the Carolinas, and into Appalachia. Number 7. Hancock. John Hancock was reportedly the richest man in New England, and by 1775 the British considered him so dangerous that the Lexington expedition carried orders touching on his arrest. He was president of the Continental Congress when independence was declared, and his signature is so famous his name became American slang for a signature itself. Then comes the hard turn. His daughter died in infancy, and his only son died at 8 in a skating accident. The most famous signature in America left no direct descendants. Remember that pattern. It becomes the whole point at number 1. Number 6. Henry. At St. John's Church in Richmond in March 1775, a lawyer named Patrick Henry ended his speech with 7 words that became the war's rallying cry: "Give me liberty or give me death." Now the number that matters to genealogists. Henry fathered 17 children by 2 wives, and they gave him more than 60 grandchildren, one of the largest documented founder bloodlines in America, pouring south and west through Virginia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Most Henrys aren't his kin, but in the Upper South especially, a surprising number can actually paper the connection. Number 5. Revere. The Midnight Ride needs no introduction. The rider does. Paul Revere was a working Boston silversmith, son of a French Huguenot immigrant who anglicized the family name. But here's the detail almost everyone misses. Revere warned Samuel Adams and John Hancock at Lexington, but he never reached Concord. A British patrol stopped him at gunpoint outside Lincoln, and it was Dr. Samuel Prescott who carried the alarm the rest of the way. Revere fathered 16 children, and his descendants number in the thousands. A Revere in your tree is rare, and one of the most traceable names in American genealogy. Number 4. Clark. In February 1779, George Rogers Clark marched 170 men across 180 miles of flooded Illinois country. wading for days through icy water up to their chests to reach the British post at Vincennes. The garrison believed no army could move in that season. Fort Sackville surrendered. That campaign is a major reason the young United States could claim what became Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, and then the pattern again. Clark never married and had no children. The famous Clark blood descends through his siblings, including his youngest brother William, the Clark of Lewis and Clark. Number 3. Boone. Daniel Boone was already famous for blazing the wilderness road through the Cumberland Gap when the Revolution reached Kentucky. In 1778, he was captured by Shawnee warriors and adopted by Chief Blackfish. Learning of a planned attack, he escaped and covered 160 miles in under 5 days to warn Boonesborough, then helped hold the fort through a 10-day siege. He was court-martialed afterward over his captivity, acquitted and promoted. The war cost him dearly anyway. At Blue Licks in 1782, his son Israel died in his arms. Boone raised 10 children and documented Boone descendants number well into the thousands. Number 2. Adams. 2 cousins, 1 surname, and between them they bracket the entire Revolution. Samuel Adams built the resistance itself, the Sons of Liberty, the Boston Tea Party, and he was one of the 2 men. With Hancock, the British column was hunting on the road to Lexington. His younger second cousin John Adams argued independence onto the floor of Congress and became the 2nd president, and his line kept producing presidents and diplomats across 4 generations. Adams sits inside the top 40 American surnames carried by over 400,000 people, the vast majority descending from other colonial Adams families, dozens of whom served as patriots themselves. An ordinary private Adams with a pension file is worth more to your application than a famous cousin you can't prove. Number 1. Washington. You knew the name. You may not know the twist. George Washington took command in 1775, crossed the ice-choked Delaware on Christmas night to strike the Hessians at Trenton, held the army together through Valley Forge, and accepted the British surrender at Yorktown, the father of his country. And one fact stops people cold. He fathered no children, none. Martha's children came from her first marriage, so not one American alive descends from George Washington by blood. Every verified Washington line runs through his brothers and his sister Betty. And there's a second greater story inside this surname. According to census data, roughly 90% of Americans named Washington today are black, descendants of freedmen and women who chose that name at emancipation as a deliberate claim on the founding itself. A surname can be inherited. It can also be declared. Both kinds carry history.